They delve too greedily and too deep. We all know the line. It's iconic, a chilling whisper etched into legend. But have you ever truly stopped to ask, how deep did they actually go? Because Moria, or Khazad-dûm, as the dwarves proudly named it, wasn't just a mine. It was the greatest kingdom ever built beneath the surface of the earth. A marvel of craftsmanship, a city of echoing halls and endless stairways, and deep beneath it all, a silence older than time. When the dwarves dug downward, chasing mithril and chasing legacy, they didn't just find treasure, they broke through something ancient, something no one was meant to wake. In this extended exploration, we're going to trace that descent, from the highest halls of Khazad-dûm to the lowest, lightless depths, where even the Balrog feared to tread. We'll break down Moria's structure, layer by layer. We'll unveil the monsters and myths buried in its veins. And finally, we'll try to answer one of the most unsettling questions in all of Middle-earth. How deep did Moria really go? But more than that, what did they find down there? What was Moria really? To understand the scale of what was lost, we first have to grasp what Moria truly was. It wasn't just a stronghold. It wasn't just a mine. It was sacred. Moria, Khazad-dûm, was founded in the years of the trees, long before the sun first rose the sky. Its founder, Durin the Deathless, was the eldest of the 7 fathers of the dwarves, created by the Vala Aule. According to Dwarven legend, Durin wandered alone beneath the misty mountains. He came to Khazad-dûm, the Mirror, a still lake whose surface reflected the stars even in daylight. There, he saw a crown of stars above his own head, and he knew, this is where the kingdom must rise. And so it began. Durin founded his halls beneath the 3 peaks: Caradhras, Redhorn; Celebdil, Silverteen; Fanuithhall, Cloudyhead. Together, they formed the mountain cluster known as the Silverteen Range. Beneath their roots, Khazad-dûm grew over thousands of years, not outward like other cities, but downward like a tree seeking ancient waters. The dwarves were unmatched builders. Their kingdom shimmered with carved stone, crystal lamps, and subterranean bridges that hung above black voids. Halls the size of cathedrals, libraries older than most nations, forges powered by deep fires that never cooled. And at the heart of it all, the source of their prosperity, was mithril. The myth of mithril, more valuable than gold, lighter than silk, stronger than steel. Mithril, also known as Moria silver, was a metal unlike anything else in Middle-earth. It could be beaten and polished without losing its luster. It never tarnished, never wore down. The elves coveted it. The Númenorians would have killed for it. Even Sauron sought it, for he knew its power. Galadriel's mirror, Frodo's shirt, the gates of Minas Tirith all bore mithril. But the dwarves of Khazad-dûm kept its true source secret. They found it deep beneath the mountain, in seams running through black rock like veins of moonlight. And they dug, and then they dug some more. Their tools struck walls meant never to be broken. And something stirred. The architecture of descent. To truly understand how deep Moria went, we have to understand how it was built. Unlike most cities that stretch across valleys or plains, Khazad-dûm was a vertical empire, a kingdom that unfolded downward, level by level, like pages in a forbidden tome. Tolkien tells us there were 7 levels above the gate level and 7 below, but this only accounts for the main inhabited regions. The true depth goes far beyond that. Think of it this way. Most cities are built horizontally, but Khazad-dûm was built like a spear, one that pierced the very bones of the earth. Level 1, the gate level. At the center of the known city lies the gate level, the path between 2 worlds. This is the level most depicted in the movies, where the Fellowship enters through the West Gate, travels through the second hall, and finds Balin's tomb in the Chamber of Mazarbul. This central corridor stretches from the cliffs of Eregion, Holin in the west, to Dimril Dale in the east. Over 40 miles wide, carved straight through the mountain. But this was more than a passage. It was a symbol, a spine, running through the heart of Khazad-dûm. Upper levels, quarters of civilization. Above this lay the 7 upper levels, where dwarves once thrived. Here were the residential quarters, guard posts, storerooms, and council halls. Places where families gathered, where craftsmen forged legendary weapons, where kings sat in thrones of obsidian and stone. Tunnels led out through secret exits hidden along the mountainsides, escape routes and trade paths known only to the dwarves. Legends speak of crystal gardens, where luminescent minerals were shaped into displays of beauty rarely seen beneath the earth. Of hallways carved to sing when the wind passed through them, a kind of dwarven music embedded into stone. But above all, these levels were alive. They were Moria's beating heart, until that heart stopped. Below the gate, the Forgotten Kingdom. Now we descend below the gate level, into shadow. The 7 lower levels contain the oldest foundations of Dwarven history. The mithril mines, which extended like roots into the dark. The great forges, where weapons were shaped for battles forgotten. Tombs, halls, and entire neighborhoods lost to cave-ins and fire. Here lies Durin's Deep, a place few dared enter even before Moria fell. It was said to contain the earliest settlements, the proto-halls, where Durin and his first followers carved their initial rooms with bare hands and crude tools. It is also where the final expansion was attempted, where the dwarves pushed past known limits, past what even they understood, and it was there, in the lowest mineshaft of all, that Durin's Bane, the awakening of fire and shadow. We know this part of the tale. The dwarves uncovered an ancient horror, a Balrog, a fallen Maya corrupted by Morgoth, sleeping in silence since the First Age. When they broke through its wall of slumber, they didn't just find a creature, they unleashed a memory of a war older than time itself. Durin the Sixth was slain, his son Nain followed him into death. The dwarves fled in terror, not just from death, but from the spiritual wrongness that now haunted their home. The halls were abandoned. The forges grew cold. Khazad-dûm became Moria, the black pit, the endless stare. And yet, one structure remained untouched. The endless stare, one of the most astonishing achievements in all of Dwarven history. A spiral staircase that began in the lowest dungeon of Khazad-dûm and wound all the way to the peak of Zirak-Zigil, where Gandalf and the Balrog fought their final duel. Thousands of steps, no platforms, no resting points, just a ceaseless spiral carved into the core of the mountain. Gandalf himself described it as a relic of forgotten craftsmanship, saying, "The endless stair. It had been made and forgotten, save by a few, and now none knew where its chief stair was thrust down." This was not just architecture, it was a symbol of dwarven defiance. Even at their most humble, the dwarves left a path from the abyss to the sky, a vertical tether from darkness to light. And yet, that light was not enough, because far below that stair lay something older than dwarves, older than fire, older than fear. The foundations of stone. When Gandalf recounts his duel with the Balrog, he doesn't describe just a fight. He describes a fall, a journey through time and myth into a realm not meant for eyes. Far, far below the deepest delvings of the dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. This is where they landed, the foundations of stone. This was not simply a deep level of Khazad-dûm. This was beneath it, beneath civilization, beneath memory, beneath the history of the world, a place Tolkien leaves deliberately unnamed, unmapped, untouched. Even Gandalf, reborn by the Valar as Gandalf the White, speaks of it only once, and never again. What are the nameless things? Let's pause here, because this is one of the most chilling lines in all of Tolkien's work. Nameless things that gnaw the world. This isn't a metaphor. Gandalf isn't being poetic. He's talking about real entities, creatures that exist beneath the structure of the world, almost like parasites feeding on the foundations of Arda itself. Who or what are they? Tolkien never elaborates, and that silence is deafening. But fans have theories. Theory 1. The Watcher in the Water. The Watcher that attacks Frodo outside the west gate of Moria, with its massive tentacles and silent menace, is never named or explained. Some believe it is one of the nameless things, a being that dwelled deep beneath Khazad-dûm and was disturbed by the Balrog's awakening. Driven upward, it settled in the pool just outside the gate, waiting. Its behavior is curious. It doesn't attack with rage. It selects. It studies. It chooses Frodo, bearer of the ring. Which brings us to Theory 2, Servants of the Void. In Tolkien's cosmology, Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, was eventually banished into the void, the unmade darkness outside the circles of the world. Some believe the nameless things are creatures that were never meant to exist in Arda, fragments of Morgoth's corruption, or even older than him. If Sauron was Morgoth's chief lieutenant, these beings may have been Morgoth's failures, or worse, his secrets, things even he feared to use in the War of Wrath. Theory 3. The Leftovers of Creation. Tolkien described Arda as being shaped through music, the Ainu Lindale, or music of the Ainur. What if these beings are the discordant notes of that music. Entities formed from chaos, cast aside during the world's making, but never truly destroyed. Beings that don't fit the moral framework of Middle-earth. Not evil, but alien. Not dark, but wrong. Even the Balrog feared the depths. Here's something crucial. The Balrog, a fallen Maya capable of slaying kings, defying Sauron, and battling a wizard to a standstill, never ruled the lower depths. It stayed in the upper halls, in the shadows of firelight, but it never descended further. And when Gandalf pursued it down, something strange happened. The Balrog fled. It didn't make a stand in the mines. It ran into the foundations of stone, into the realm of things older than itself. Let that sink in. Even Durin's Bane was afraid. A depth beyond maps. Let's talk scale. Gandalf's fall, chasing the Balrog, is described as lasting days, not hours, days. He says, "We fought far under the living earth, where time is not counted. No sun, no moon, no measurement of time. The endless stair which leads from the lowest dungeon to the peak of Zirag-Ziggle easily spans over 13,000 feet, around 4,000 meters vertically." To compare, Grand Canyon, 1,800 meters deep. Deepest mine on Earth, Monang, 4,000 meters. Mount Everest, height from sea level, 8,848 meters. But those are shafts. Moria is a multi-tiered city with halls, forges, cities within cities, all stacked vertically. This was not a cave. It was a continent turned upside down. And still, Gandalf fell below all of it. Why did Tolkien leave it vague? Tolkien was a master world builder, but he knew that fear thrives in silence. He gave us maps of Gondor, elvish dictionaries, calendars for the Shire, but no map of Moria's lowest depths. Why? Because some places are scarier when we don't know them, when our minds fill the void with imagination, myth, and dread. In Tolkien's world, knowledge is power, but the nameless things, they have no names. And therefore, no power can bind them. They simply exist. What was truly lost? When we talk about the fall of Moria, we often focus on the Balrog, the nameless things, the terror, and the depth. But let's not forget what was lost above it all.
Moria wasn't just a city. It was the crown jewel of Dwarven culture. Their library, their temple, their forge. It was the last place where Durin's blood ran hot through stone. Its fall didn't just break a city. It fractured a people. The dwarves became wanderers. From Erebor to the Iron Hills, they searched for new homes. But none would ever match the glory of Khazad-dûm. Not in size, not in spirit. Its loss was more than political. It was existential, because Moria was their pride. And in chasing Mithril, that pride led to a crack in the world. Was Moria a kingdom or a door? Here's the haunting question. What if Moria was never meant to be a home? What if it was never a fortress, but a portal? What if, buried deep beneath the misty mountains, was a thin place, a fragile threshold between the world of Arda and something else? Tolkien's legendarium often speaks of other planes of existence. The Void, where Morgoth was cast. Valinor, the Undying Lands. The halls of Mandos, where souls rest. But the foundations of stone don't fit any of these. They are not evil, not divine, not natural. They are something other. They predate the story itself. And when the dwarves broke through, they didn't just fall into ruin. They connected the surface of the world to that realm, accidentally unsealing a rift that was never meant to open. The psychological depth of Moria. Let's pull back the camera, because Moria isn't just about geography or monsters. It's about hubris. The dwarves, proud and secretive, believed they could dig forever. They saw wealth in the depths, not warnings. They mistook silence for emptiness, and they paid the price. This is the same theme that echoes across Tolkien's work. Men seeking immortality and falling into shadow. Elves clinging to beauty and fading into memory. Wizards burdened with power and drawn toward domination. In Tolkien's world, the desire for more, even good things, always carries a cost. Moria isn't just a ruin, it's a lesson. A reminder that even the greatest civilizations can dig themselves into oblivion. The final descent. How deep does it go? Let's answer the question now. How deep is Moria? Measured in stone, it could easily span over 4,000 meters, or 13,000 feet, from its summit at Zirag-Ziggle to its lowest dungeon. Its structure rivals the deepest human engineering ever attempted. But it's more than that. Moria is not a measurement. It's a mythic descent. not just into the earth, but into forgotten history, cosmic terror, and the limits of ambition. It's the story of a people who dug past reason, who opened a door that wasn't just underground, it was outside the world entirely. And whatever lies beyond that door, it has no name, it leaves no bones, it just waits. So when we ask, how deep is Moria? Maybe the better question is, how far down does the darkness go once you pass through it? The dwarves thought they had reached the bottom. They hadn't. They found a threshold. They crossed it, and what lies on the other side may still be whispering in the dark. If you've made it this far, you're clearly just as obsessed with Tolkien's world as I am. So, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into Middle-earth lore, and tell me in the comments, what do you think lies beneath Moria? Is it just stone or something much, much older? And remember, some things in Middle-earth were meant to stay buried and left to a long, quiet slumber.